Alrighty guys, so in this video, we're going to be talking about identification, who this is for, okay? So, you did your headline, you got your proof, now we need to start building rapport with the viewer. We need to suck them into our world and identify with them, okay? And there's going to be a few things that we can do, that we can use to do that, okay? So this is an important part. The reader will feel like you understand them in their situation. And so when the reader feels like you truly understand them and you understand their situation, their circumstances, there's going to be a ton of trust. And whatever you help them with your thesis points, like if you give them a new idea, if you give them a new product, then they're going to be receptive, really receptive. Okay, so we need to identify, it's called rapport building. You do this in sales, you do this in video sales letters, and in written sales letters. So A3 is all about who this is for, okay? So you already kind of figured this out. You already went through the Rails spreadsheet, okay? And you've already identified a lot of this stuff already. So who this is for, who is your prospect? This is where we start to really start identifying with the prospect. So desires, okay? So everyone has desires, dreams, outcomes, okay? And by aligning with these dreams and desires and encouraging them, we can build a very deep sense of rapport, okay? So kind of be your prospect's cheerleader. That's what you want to be. Think of yourself as a cheerleader for your prospects. So they have desires, and you're here to encourage them and cheer them on. Okay. That's what people like. That's what it is. You want to be, if you can do that, you're going to build a deep sense of rapport. Okay. So everyone wants a positive Power Ranger. You want to be the positive Power Ranger with respect to your customers and your prospects. Okay. So if they have desires, encourage them. Okay. Don't poo-poo on them. Okay. Don't poo-poo on their desires. Encourage them, okay? So the desires can be personal or business related, okay? It's a good idea to mix in too. Again, remember, humans only have 3 problems: resources, mating, health, okay? So it's a good idea to mix in the personal and the business, okay? More revenue, lower churn, better metrics. That's like business stuff. But what does that really mean? That means maybe they want to take their kids to private school. They want to retire their parents. They want to go on their vacation. They want to buy their girlfriend or boyfriend girlfriend or wife a diamond ring, or fiance a diamond ring. Okay. Maybe they want to go to Mars. Okay. Maybe they want to be involved in philanthropy. Maybe they want to donate they want to build a school in Nepal or something like that. All right. So you want to try to read between the lines, and if you hit the nerve, you'll stick out like crazy and perk people up. People will be reading like, oh, this is just a nice little educational business piece, but then all of a sudden you hit them with a personal desire. They're like, whoa, 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 what is this? Okay, it's like a sledgehammer. All of a sudden you just whipped out a sledgehammer. Okay, so they can be thought of as goals as well. Okay, so in the spreadsheet, you already have this, the business desires, and you have the personal dreams and desires, okay? So that's why we spent time mapping those out in the beginning, because we're going to be using them right here, okay? So if you're trying to build a pack, here's some examples. If you're trying to build a pack of wolves that can sell your product without you even having to be here, then you're in the right place, okay? So we're basically telling the customer, the prospect, that they're in the right place by reading this right now. If you're trying to break your first mill, then stick around. If you're trying to raise your next round, then stick around. If you're trying to get that promotion or your bonus, then this is for you. Okay? If you're trying to prevent your wife from cheating on you with her boss, then stick around. That's a personal one. Okay? That's a legit scare for males. Okay, me being a male, that's like my worst fear ever. If my partner is, I'm not good enough and my partner leaves. That's like the worst fear ever, okay? That's a nerve, okay? So how do you determine these desires? So the secret desires, they often slip out when you spend enough time with the prospects, okay? So they might say something like, I'll get really frustrated, be like, All I want here is just to get to $1 million annual recurring revenue. Like that's what actually happened. Okay. One of my prospects said that. One of my customers said that. I don't care what we have to do. All I care about is getting to this. Okay. That was their secret desire. Okay. In that moment of time. Okay. So when they're stressed, like just spend some time with these people. Take note of what happens. What do they say when they're really, really, really frustrated? What do they really want? When there's a gun to their head, what do they really, really want? Okay. Those are the true desires. So take note of this. Look for flare-ups in emotions. Okay. You can interview the prospects and say, if you could only do one thing right now, what would it be? One thing. Okay. That'll isolate that true desire. And people's desires, they change with time, right? They change with circumstances. So the desire, last year might be different from the desire this year. Okay. So we need to really figure out what that desire is in the moment of time. Okay. Force the prospect up against the wall and get that real desire out. And then ask the prospects some of these questions. If you could fix one problem in your life, such that by fixing it, everything else would be irrelevant, what would that be? I took that from Gary Keller, the one thing. This is such a powerful line. If you could fix one thing, what would it be? If you could do one thing this year, what would it be? Such that everything else is irrelevant. Okay? That's a really good question. What's screaming at you? What's something that's screaming at you right now? When you wake up, what's screaming at you? Something you can't ignore. That's a really good question as well. Okay? So notice you're going to have some, when you're mining this stuff, you're going to have some rapport with your customers and your prospects, okay? So that's why it's good to start with somebody who you know and you can really, really get deep, okay? Fears. If you can allay someone's fears, you will cause a massive amount of rapport, okay? So everyone has fears or have something that worries them, okay? So you want to acknowledge their fear and just allay it, and just say it's don't worry, okay? So if you're worried about making payroll, if you're worried about not having a Thanksgiving story, if you're worried about keeping your most important people motivated and present, and stick around. Okay? Make sense? So that is, if you can align to someone's fears, then allay them. You're going to say, don't worry, it's not your fault. In the next section, we're going to relieve some of this pressure. Right now, we're agitating. So we're identifying and we're agitating. Okay? So it's like a little tornado of emotion that we're going to be creating here, okay? And so, yeah, think about all the things that they're worried about. What are your customers really worried about? What are your prospects really worried about? Failures. Failures are things that the prospect has tried in the past, but they didn't have success, okay? So these could be activities. It could have bought products, processes, hires, belief systems. So you want to mention the failures and justify them, okay? So no one wants to feel like a dummy for failing, okay? They want to feel like, oh, everyone else failed, and it's because of this reason, okay? So, here's another example. So if you spent $85,000 on a marketer and you got no yield, okay, and you're feeling like you just wasted a ton of money and a ton of time, then you're in the right place, okay? If you engaged a HubSpot person to set up HubSpot and then your business didn't move and it was just a big waste of time and you're frustrated, then stick around. If you can't convince an investor, you're trying all of these different things. You're doing the angel groups. You're going door to door, and you can't convince anyone to invest with you, then stick around. It's not your fault. We're going to show you how to handle that, okay? Suspicions. Suspicions are things or ideas or anything that people don't trust, okay? So if you can confirm or align with someone's suspicions, you're going to achieve a massive amount of rapport. So if you suspect, right, that the VCs and their little game of hot potato is not the way to actually do business and make money, then I want to tell you that you're right. And I'll show you how. I'll show you why. Okay? If you suspect that you don't need to be a sleazy salesperson to close deals and that stuff doesn't work, you're right. I'm going to show you how. Okay? Just stick around. If you suspect that it doesn't take 4 years to find product market fit and get to your first get traction, you're right. Okay? I'm going to show you how to do it. Just stick around. All right? So we're going to be doing a little bundle here in a second, but the last one is the enemies. So enemies are things that people or ideas that people hate. Okay? Enemies are ideas, people, products, processes that people like hate. Okay, so you want to align with a common enemy. There's this tribal instinct in people. When there's a common enemy, you see this in politics all the time. There's a common enemy, right? People get really fired up and their tribal instincts take over. Okay, so if you hate burning money and being broke, then you're in the right place. Okay, if you hate making excuses, then you're in the right place. If you hate wasting engineering bandwidth, then you're in the right place. If you hate explaining to your employees that you didn't hit your milestones, then you're in the right place. Okay? Make sense? So you want to map out things that your customer just hates, okay? And then we're going to be stacking and bundling, okay? So you're going to map out all of these in your little table here, okay? So all of these in the table, and then we're going to bundle them together. And this is what you actually say in your sales letter. This is what you write in your written sales letter, okay? So now who this is for. So stick around if you are an entrepreneur, and we're calling out the niche. Stick around if you're an entrepreneur or you're a salesperson, you're a marketer, and you're trying to get to your first $1 million, okay? Or maybe you want to hire a pack of wolves and build an amazing remote sales team, okay? But you don't know how to do it. You can't figure it out. You tried the consultants. You tried reading the books. You tried doing it on your own, and it's just not working. You're not getting the traction, okay? Maybe you're trying to, present a great Thanksgiving story, okay, at the Thanksgiving table, but, so you're still getting outcompeted by your sibling, okay? Maybe you're worried about payroll. Maybe you're worried about running out of money. You have a product, you need traction ASAP. The checking account's just going down every single month, and you can't even stand to look at it, okay? You're in the right place, okay? And if you suspected that the VCs in their little game of hot potato is not the way to run a business and really make value, then you know what? I'm going to tell you that you're right. You're in the right place, and I'll show you why. And if you're pissed, if you hired an $85,000 a year marketer, if you hired an $85,000 a year, $100,000 VP sales, or $200,000 VP sales, and you're still not moving the boat, and you feel like you're wasting a ton of money, or maybe you even bought into HubSpot Enterprise and you spent $100,000 on building that software and integrating it, and you're still not moving the boat. Or maybe you're trying all these tools, these automation tools and different prospecting tools, or hiring media buyers, and you're still not moving the boat, and you still can't flood the calendar, you still can't get the traction, then this is for you. I'm going to show you why that stuff's not working. It's not your fault. And if you hate burning money or making excuses, or you absolutely hate not being successful, and you hate wasting time, and you hate burning other resources, then this is for you. Just stick around. All right. So that's an example of stacking and bundling. Okay. So should you get emotional? Yes, get emotional. This is where you suck somebody into your argument. If you can introduce emotion at this point, you'll develop a deep sense of rapport. How long should this section be? Don't be afraid to go off, okay, in this section. Don't be afraid to really start engaging somebody and start identifying with their problems. This is the black magic stuff. If you see these long infomercials or these long form video sales letters, this is the black magic stuff. All right. So should you use pictures? Yes. Use pictures in your video sales letter. Okay. If you write well enough, you don't need pictures, but you can use like little emotions and sad faces and frustrated faces, and you can add imagery all you want, okay? Don't use stock photos though. Stock photos aren't good. It takes away from it. Like I'd rather use a stick figure than a stock photo because it shows the prospect like hey, this is you, this is your thing, right? So don't be afraid to just draw like crappy little stick figures. Russell Brunson does that all the time. Okay, guys. So that's A3. That's an example of A3. Okay. And yeah, that's how to identify with the prospect. So write this bundle here. Okay, map out your fears, desires, frustrations, suspicions, and then source them. If you need to, you can do trends as well. I didn't mention this, but you can do trends as well. Okay, so you can frame the argument. So when you identify with the prospect, you can also introduce like trends. These are the winds blowing around in the environment. Okay. So for example, a trend right now is everyone's going remote. That's a trend, right? Everyone is going remote. Okay. And we can cite some things. Okay. Everyone's going remote and your competitors are going remote. And if you don't catch up and you don't meet or you don't get there first, then you're going to be at a very, you're going to have a huge disadvantage. Your competitors are going to wipe the floor with you. Okay. So that's an example of trends. So you can mix in desires, fears, failures, enemies, suspicions, and trends. Okay. And that is A3. If you do a good job, people will read that and be like, oh, what am I reading? What am I reading? Okay, guys. So that's it for A3, and we'll see you in the next video.